You know, for old media, I do know some old tricks that work. And one of the things that works is talk about the most interesting thing right off the bat. Don't spend 5 minutes talking about Paolo Banchero's development.
Tell the people who you're talking about. They don't even know what you're talking about.
Listening to Draymond's podcast.
Listen, he gets to the ejection at the 8-minute mark. First, we got to talk Haywood Highsmith. That's how new media does it.
Haywood Highsmith came up. He's like, well, you know, scheduling.
There we go.
I think Steph Curry's,
you know what? Steph Curry's weeping on the court. JJ Redick on the pod. Like, you know, this inverted pick and roll when I'm swearing at the referee.
You are.
I mean, what are we talking about?
Enraged.
It's just insane.
Yeah. All right, here's my reaction. I mean, look, obviously what Draymond did is terrible and selfish and indefensible.
Selfish is a great word.
It's absolutely selfish. And he may not look at it that I'm competitive. No, it's selfish. All right. But let me say this first before I get to Draymond. Steph Curry, his reaction. We all know how great Steph is. But in terms of competitiveness, you've kind of got two guys, maybe I'm missing somebody, but people think of Jordan and Kobe and Magic and Bird, like these guys that part of their legend is how much they wanted to win, right? Steph's never been in that grouping. Not that he's not competitive. Everybody obviously knows he's competitive, but he hasn't been in that grouping. Seeing this, it really kind of made me a guy that's covered his whole career and been in a ton of his biggest games go like, man, like this dude wants it. Because they're not fighting to get, it's not a finals game.
Yeah.
They're fighting to get in the play-in, all right? The 10th seed, and he wants it that badly. So, to me, I don't know if he was crying or not. I mean, I've known guys that when they get angry, they cry. Yeah. Right, so whatever it was.
Wild's about to cry right now. He's so bad.
I cry a lot.
Yeah, so to me, this was like, it was, you know, it was a revelation to me. Like, oh, this dude is really at that highest level competitive-wise. As far as Draymond, again, there's not that much needs to be said about his foolishness, all right? He got mad that Kevin Durant and Yusuf Nurkic implied that he needed some mental help, right? And
a while ago.
He said they questioned his character. I don't know if they were questioning his character. They were just saying he needs some help, but he took umbrage with that. And when people that need mental help can't control their emotions enough to function in normal society.
Yeah.
Right. And this is, right now, Draymond has not been able to control himself enough to function in a normal basketball game. So if he doesn't feel like he needs mental help, I'm not saying he does, but just go out there and show it, all right? But I got to say this, because Draymond obviously is most to blame. But the Warriors, and I'm not the first to say this, the Warriors have some culpability here, all right? They have enabled him for years, and maybe you've even said this, Nick, they have enabled him for years to get away with this foolishness. Most recently, I mean, obviously there was stuff this year, but when you punched out Jordan Poole, and he doesn't even get suspended.
No, and then they pay Draymond and they get rid of Draymond.
Yeah, they gave him $100 million after that. So I'm just saying the Warriors have a lot to do with this because they've enabled him year after year, time after time.
Wildes, do you want to go?
Oh. Well, here's the thing, and I've heard a lot of takes. One of the knee-jerk reaction takes is, Draymond is not worth it. When does Draymond go from helping the team to hurting the team? The answer is not anytime soon. He is awesome, and he works for the Warriors, and when he plays with the Warriors, they win games, and the stats bear it out. When he plays a full game, the Warriors are 26-17. When he gets ejected, they're 1-3, and when he doesn't play, whether suspended or for whatever reason, the Warriors are 11-14. So any narrative, unless you, be rude, that's your narrative, but any narrative that's like, oh man, he's not worth the hassle. He 100% is, and in this strange conflict where it's like how inflammable and flammable mean the same thing. He is at the same time the most unselfish team guy when he's on the court.
He's talking about his style of play.
His style of play
is unselfish.
He doesn't need any glory.
Yeah.
He'll pass up open
work.
shots.
Yeah.
He'll get in the trenches.
Yeah.
He'll do it all that contributes to winning, except when he does the exact opposite. Yeah. But it doesn't make logical sense to me that people say, you know what? The Warriors need to move on because they need him and he's not available.
Well, so hold on. That wasn't my take, but let me explain how that could potentially make sense. Let's just again, because I'm doing this on the fly. You're Steph, you're a healthy Clay, I'm Draymond. Yes. All right? You know what I mean? This is whatever it is. I understand, but let's just go with it. Show's obviously better with all three of us. Mm-hmm. But if once every couple of weeks I showed up drunk and midway through the show or right before the show, you guys had to be like, Nick, you can't be on the air today, and that show tanked, you couldn't then be like, well, look at how valuable Nick is. The shows are great when he's there, and they're awful when he's not there. You might say, yeah, we'd love good Nick, but drunk Nick has become such a problem that we need to see what it would look like if we weren't relying on you at all. If we just knew you weren't going to be here, someone else was going to be here, and the team would be different. So, in that regard.
What if the quality of the show dropped? Like, what if it was great at one point, we're winning awards? Sure, we'll put up with it. But now we're just a pretty good show.
Exactly right. Yeah,
that's what the Warriors are right now.
So
we're not even as good as a Rockets show. It's like
right. Okay. So that's in response to that. But my initial reaction to this is somebody tweeted it, and they were right, and I wish I could give them credit. They were like, the Warriors talk about Draymond the way people talk about their cousin his 7th or 8th time he's gone to jail. Like, yeah, probably deserved it. We're sad. We're rooting for him. But it's what we expect. They're not defending him. Kerr's not defending him. Steph's not defending him. They are, and I think Steph's thing was less competitive. I think Steph is super competitive, but I think it was less about, like, this is, oh, now we might lose this game, and more about, Jesus, man, this is just my basketball life now. This is just.
Really?
Yes.
I disagree with that.
This is what I am. It was me, Clay, and Draymond. Clay, through no fault of his own, is not the same guy. Draymond, with age, has gotten more erratic. Mm-hmm. And this is what the rest of my career is going to look like. It is going to be on an average, mediocre team with a guy who I cannot rely to make it to the first TV timeout. He was enraged about a foul called on a teammate that he got a technical for, totally warranted. They could have given him a second and a third, let it all go, and then Draymond wanted to get thrown out. I don't care what he says there. He didn't even react to getting thrown out. He was already walking towards the locker room.
He wasn't shocked.
He wasn't
like a lot
shocked.
of his ejections, he's like, you know,
and the reason
surprised.
Selfish was such a good word is, what did we just hear from Steve Kerr the last time the Warriors lost? When they were like, hey, why didn't you play Steph more minutes? He was like, listen.
Oh, yeah.
The weight of the franchise has been on us back for 15 years. Draymond, you know how I know he knows Orlando's on a back-to-back and it's tough? Because he opened his podcast talking about how it's there on a back-to-back every year, all this stuff. You're on a back-to-back in a must-win game. And 4 minutes in, you're out of there, and now Steph's got to play 35 minutes and bail your ass out again. Just to stay afloat. Like, it is, I look at it, Brew, as someone who, Draymond has always been erratic and he's always been volatile. But the insanity of the actions is ratcheting up. The most violent things we have seen him do have all occurred in the last 18 months. He
used to kick guys.
Yeah, but it wasn't stuff that could actually really hurt people. Yeah. You know what I mean? The punch and the Nurkic thing could really have hurt people. I think the Sabonis stomp could, and the Gobert thing couldn't hurt you, really. It was just weird. And being ejected 3 minutes into a game. This is ratcheted up volatility. Mm-hmm. And so
it's getting to a point. I mean, you mentioned Sabonis and the things he's done that really could have hurt guys. I hope this doesn't happen. I'm not predicting it will happen. But this seems to be like a situation that, let's say something did happen. Let's say he stomped on another player's chest like that and really hurt him. And then the NBA and everyone associated is saying, why didn't we do? All of us, everybody on talk shows would be killing the NBA saying, why didn't you do something? You saw this coming and all you did was give him little slaps on the wrist or nothing at all in the case of Jordan Poole. So just.
All right, so let's go big picture. Warriors did get the win without Kuminga, who didn't play, so I think that's why Steph had to shoulder extra responsibility, or Draymond. Steph only had 17, but it was enough to say good night to the Magic.
A big win.
And a very emotional Steph here, too. Not only was he, like, upset, then he did this sleeping thing for a long way, kind of taunting Orlando, like, hey, we just started winning. And then he kicked some chairs, too. West play-in standings are as follows. Red Hot Rockets right on their tails. So we'll go with the future, Nick. What should the Warriors do if they miss the playoffs, even though they also might miss the play-in?
Well, I think this is less about what the Warriors should do and more about what Steph Curry should do. And it's whether or not they miss the play-in, make the play-in, miss the playoffs, whatever it is.
Beating the first.
It's all the same in large part. Brew, if I said to you, I figured out my retirement plans. I'm going to move back to my hometown, Kansas City, and I'm going to live on the ocean. What would you say to me?
There's no ocean there.
I got to pick. You can go live on the ocean somewhere, or you can live in Kansas City. You can't do both. Exactly. Ideally, that's what I would love to do. Live in my hometown and live on the ocean. Unfortunately, that is a reality that will never exist. Right. Steph Curry, when this season ends, has to make a similar decision. Do I want to be a Warrior for life? Or do I want to play in games that really matter again? Yeah. You can't. He can't do both. And by the way, I hand to God mean this. I would not judge either decision. He has more than earned the right to do whatever he wants, whatever would make him happiest. And I think the Warriors would accommodate him. I think if he said, I don't want to be, guys, I don't want to be here anymore, and in fact, I want to go to either this place or this place, they would make it happen for him. He made 100 millionaires, billionaires for that team. He did all of it. But it's a sad reality that for Steph, it's now a choice. He can't have both. He can't compete at the highest level and play in the biggest games and stay being a Warrior, no matter how this season ends, because this is not going to dramatically get better, and Steph is not going to all of a sudden become 2016 Steph again. And so for all those reasons, that's what this season signals to me, is he's got to make a choice this offseason or whenever, and maybe the choice is easy. I just want to be a Warrior. But then Steph Curry in relevant basketball games is over, and that as a basketball fan would make me a little sad.
No, I agree. I mean, you're right with that. I was going to say, and I've said in the past, whatever he wants to do.
Yep.
If he is fine playing in Golden State, games don't mean much. And seeing the way he reacted last night, again, it sparks the thought, man, he still wants to win.
Yeah.
He might not be quite as good as he was 5 years ago.
Still top 10 guy.
Yeah, still a very good player and who can win championships. And so if he wants to stay with the Warriors, I agree. I've said it many times, the dynasty's over. All right, the run is over, and a lot of great players end like this. Some even worse. I mean, they're just not even playing at a high level anymore. So this wouldn't be unusual for him to play out his string in Golden State and all that. But some things they can do. Chris Paul's contract's non-guaranteed. Try to trade it if you can and get something for him. But if you can't, just let him go. Clay, I know it's going to be tough, but I think you got to part ways with Clay. And maybe if you can bring him back on a tiny deal, sure. But I wouldn't pay him. I would try, and you mentioned Draymond. Yes, Draymond's a very good player still, and he's critical to their success, whatever level of success they have now. But I'd be willing to trade him now. And I don't know what teams, because I don't think he'd be as good anywhere else.
Unless LeBron throws him a life raft, he's not going to have a huge market.
Yeah, the Warriors don't play. Also, they don't play the same style they did in the past. So Draymond, all the things he could do are not quite like him handling the ball. Steph handles it a lot more than he used to. So I think they could start all over. Like what about calling Phoenix? If Phoenix goes out in the first round or doesn't make the playoffs altogether, Do you think they definitely got to keep Kevin Durant?
Oh, I don't think the Warriors could get Kevin Durant.
I would with the Suns, we already got Booker, we got Beal. Beal's hurt too much, but would they maybe say Draymond and Wiggins or something like that? I'm just saying, like,
I don't think
these are the types
Durant
of things
back to Golden State?
try to. Steph and Durant.
No, I just don't
I would try to make that happen.
Well, yeah,
I get that I'm
I think
fishing.
that would work.
I get I'm fishing. No, get rid of Draymond.
I don't know how
gone.
good the Warriors are without Draymond. That's what I got.
They're different now. Draymond used to handle the ball and be the playmaker. He's not quite that.
I just
does
don't
that
think
as
those
much
guys.
anymore. They might not want. I get that.
I just don't.
But
think
I'm looking for all these things.
I know. I understand. There are things they can do around the margins. There is not, to me. I'm not criticizing the Warriors front office. They won 4 titles, but they missed on some very high draft picks. You know what I mean? They would really obviously love the Wiseman pick back. I would argue the Moody pick hasn't worked out. Kuminga, when you draft Kuminga, and he's the youngest player in the draft, or second youngest to Moody, you know that's going to be a very long
working
runway.
out where it looks like
it's working out, but it's just the
star.
timeline is maybe askew. There's just a lot of things where, and that's why, and the reason that I am so pessimistic, Wildes, about Draymond changing it all is not just the podcast, where he treated this as something less important than talking about Haywood Highsmith, but more important than talking about Tari Eason, which I know we will. But Draymond in the tunnel after the game was shocking to me.
Like nothing happened.
Him and Steph once again lets him off the hook. Steph hugs him and walks by. I wish we had an angle of Steph's face right when he sees Draymond doing this. Because that, to me, is such a lack of accountability. And people maybe you can say I'm being unfair. I really am not trying to be unfair. And it is so weird because the points you're making about Draymond on the court and his effectiveness still as a player are valid. And Draymond off the court, outside of basketball, so many people that I love and respect love that man.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about what a great guy he is. It is such a, like, when he's totally unrelated to basketball, everyone loves him. When it's just basketball, everyone loves him and he's super valuable. It's the weird, like, when he's on the court but not doing basketball stuff, he's just a maniac. You know what I mean? And so it's a weird spot. But I think him being in the tunnel, like, oh, all's good, like, it to me was off-putting. Yeah. And it was a lack of accountability.
Okay, we're going to quickly talk about the Rockets. I just love the Rockets. Your reaction?
Well, listen, I don't know if Tari Eason's the right messenger for this. I like a little.
Tell us why.
Well, I mean,
he's not even playing.
He's not playing.
He's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Rockets Warriors was a real rivalry for years. Like the Warriors always won it. Yeah, but Brew, I had an epiphany about 2 hours ago. Because yesterday was really weird on this show. Because we all know what we're going to talk about. Brew pretends he's like shocked by questions or whatever, but we have production meetings. We know what's going on. And Brew, you were as shocked as I was yesterday when 3 minutes into the show, Wildes took the car and tried to drive it off a cliff by doing the, maybe LeBron's the problem.
I did not.
Maybe the Lakers are better without LeBron.
I said the Lakers are 6-4.
So why am I bringing that up, Brew? Because I realized what was happening. That it was classic projection. Because who's Wildes' favorite player?
That's true.
I'm open
Who
about
is his
it.
favorite
Are they
player,
better
Brew?
without Sengun?
Well, I don't know. Let's show you the numbers. Because with Sengun, Wildes is so we're all a team wins guy. They're not good.
Wow.
Without Sengun, they have won 8 in a row.
Defense doesn't suffer at all.
12. That's a Celtics-esque point differential.
What do you got to say?
They were getting hot with Sengun.
No, Wildes, they weren't. I
Yes,
looked that
they
up.
were.
You keep saying that. They had won 2. They had won 2.
I thought they had won 3 of their last
numbers
four.
They had
don't
won
lie,
2.
Wildes. What do you want to say?
He inspired the Rockets. But I think it's a fair question to ask if if you have two
enough?
It seems like we have a Thunder situation. Maybe we have.
Well, Jalen Green is now my guy. I'm just letting you know.
Okay. I like Jalen Green.
No, he's my guy now. You can keep Sengun.
Can I just ask you a question?
The bench warmer.
If Sengun gets medically cleared full, all can go, can play.
He is not playing this year.
Hold
Yes,
on.
he is.
No,
He might
here's
play in
my
the
question.
playoffs.
If the doctor's like he's full, it's fine, he can play, and it's first game he's allowed back is the 9-10 play-in game.
Oh yeah.
Would you want them to play him?
It's a little Tom Brady Bledsoe-esque.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.